as we get into this is this family picture album. You see the two letters A and C circled red. Ivan van Sertima says, this by the way is a picture from Ramses III's tomb, right around 1200 BC. And what this is all about is that Ivan van Sertima states that the Egyptians always pictured themselves as A and C, not as B and D. We have the Semitic D and the Indo-Europeans and Asiatics B. And I just wanted to throw that in just to understand what's going on. 33 dynasties since the beginning of Egypt. And what happens here is that you have different events that happen during each dynasty, and you can take a look at those because we're going to be revisiting this a little bit each time as we go through this. This is Khafre. Thutmose III put a plaque between the paws of the Sphinx of Giza, stating that Khafre had something to do with the construction of the Sphinx. Now, some folks believe that he was the one who designed it. It was designed after him. There's an artist out of New York City who works for detectives and police, getting skulls and then reconstructing the facial features of the skulls so that they can identify who the victim was. He has actually done some analysis on this and doesn't believe that it was Khafre. But whoever it was, I mean, you be the judge. You can take a look at two pictures side by side. That's Khafre in the Cairo Museum, and then the Sphinx of Giza. Count Constantine de Volney, during a trip to Egypt from 1783 to 1785, said this, and I quote, he says, "On seeing that head," what head? The Sphinx of Giza. "Typically Negro in all its features, I remembered the remarkable passage of Herodotus, 'The ancient Egyptians were true Negroes of the same type as all native-born Africans.' Just to think that this race of black men today are slaves and the object of scorn, the very race to which we owe our arts, sciences, and even the use of speech." Now, I want to ask this question. What would motivate him to say this phrase, "typically Negro in all its features"? Could it be perhaps this? This was an artist's conception, Vivant Denon, who accompanied Napoleon's army, 1798. This is his artist's conception of the Sphinx of Giza. Before what happened? Before the lips and the nose were shot off by Napoleon's troops. That is verifiable because Denon was an eyewitness to those lips and the lips and nose being shot off by the soldiers. Why did they do it? We cannot climb into their hearts in the 21st century and figure this out, divine the entrails of frogs, and try to figure out why they did it. That's between them and God. But what happened, happened. And so when you look at this, you know that this definitely was patterned after an African man, regardless of who the identity of that man was. We now move to the first through the second dynasty. Narmer-Menes, he was the creator of the dynastic rule of Egypt. He ruled some 62 years in all. He unified the upper and lower Egypt. For the first time, this was all brought together. One of the things we know about him is that he initiated the Herculean task of diverting the course of the Nile that created the Delta region that allowed Memphis to be built. He died while traversing a river. They were going after a rogue Libyan band of troops, and a crocodile grabbed a hold of him as an older man, and that must have been some struggle, I'll tell you, but that's how he died, how he passed on. This is all we have of Narmer. Zoser. Zoser in the third dynasty, he was a gentleman that he began the extensive building with stone. In fact, he's the first one that put up a stone monolith in the Egyptian Empire. He exploited the copper mines in the Sinai Peninsula region. He extended his frontier to the first cataract of the Nile. Those who studied this know that there were 5 cataracts in all. These are rocky areas where you cannot traverse by a boat, and you have to actually go around it by land. And he extended the frontier about 500 miles south of Memphis. His chief advisor was a gentleman by the name of Imhotep. Imhotep, a remarkable individual. In fact, if you were to look at his resume, his obituary, I call this a resume obituary type stuff, is that he could easily say, I'm a sage, I'm a scribe, a priest, an astronomer, I'm a philosopher, I'm an advisor to Zoser, I'm his chief medical doctor, I'm the grand architect of the 204-foot stepped pyramid in Saqqara. He was worshipped, by the way, as a god for the next 3,000 years. And some early Christians, in fact, worshipped him as the Prince of Peace. This man made quite a mark in what he did. He was a man that was what we call the father of medicine. And by the way, his father was an architect. His name was Conifer. And this gentleman treated more than 200 diseases. He had 15 diseases of the abdomen that he was able to identify, 10 of the rectum, 11 of the bladder, 29 of the eye, 18 of the skin. He had this science of facial analysis where he could look into your face, your eyes, and determine what was going on. Now, some of the stuff we might laugh at now with our technology, but in medicine, he had a lot of information going on at this particular time. He knew of the circulation of the blood 4,000 years before the Europeans did. I like that upper right-hand corner picture. He's kind of peeking down at you. Don't you like that? Khufu, builder of the Great Pyramid. This man built the Great Pyramid, and the only thing we can find is a poor, poor little statue of him. This is the only likeness we have of Khufu. He built the 140-foot ship that we see there, and if those have been in the sands of Giza, you can see that ship. It's in its own house. It was a ship that when they had the pyramid set up, they built a kind of a cavern or a pit, and they put the ship down inside that pit. And they pulled it out, and they were able to... It was supposed to be a ship that was to take him into the afterlife. That was the religious ideology of the day. Menkaure, builder of the third Great Pyramid. By the time he came along, the national coffers were pretty much depleted. His pyramid is not nearly as incredible as the first two. I'll tell you, you take it on its own rights, and I'll tell you, it is an incredible work of art. He was known as a just man, as a man of meek spirit, a quiet man, mild temperament, forthright. He studied a lot of religions of his day, and just a very knowledgeable, well-read man. We now move to this particular part in the 11th dynasty, Mentuhotep. This particular gentleman was a man who was regarded as the greatest person of the 11th dynasty, the actual founder of it, the king of the upper and lower Egypt, and his wife, Kawit, in the lower right-hand part of your screen.